So in Barbie Princess Academy, after they tailor new dresses together, we feel the friendship between them solidified, leading to higher stakes.
I'm not done talking about Brave! I want to talk about Brave!
In our last video on Brave, we talked more about the foundational aspects that attributed to the movie's downfall. In this video, we wanted to more or less just complain about small aspects in the film that we feel didn't come off right. We don't think any of these things would actually fix the film, but we just couldn't leave them well enough alone.
So Austin and I use the term convenience a lot. Let's just quickly break down what that is. A story is actually just a sequence of convenient events, but it shouldn't feel convenient. A conflict that's convenient feels natural and goes unnoticed by the audience. But if a resolution is convenient, that's gonna feel cheap and unrewarding. So I was just looking up the definition of convenience in a textbook the other day, and there they were. The Wisps. The Wisps are such a confusing element for me. They don't serve any meaningful purpose outside of plot progression. Anytime the scene starts slowing down and we need to bring in a new story beat, look around, the Wisps will be close by. In my opinion, that's kind of lazy writing. Like, just, oh, we don't know where to go. Just use magic, that'll get us there. And outside of the Wisps just being convenient plot progression, why do our characters even keep following them? 2 out of 4 times, they lead them into problematic situations, which, for clarification's sake, they're still convenient plot progressions. They themselves are not convenient conflicts, so it still comes off cheap. The Wisps are who actually lead Prime Meridian to the witch's hut, so we can blame them actually for why her mom's turned into a bear. That turned out well. The second time we see him, they lead him to the Lost Kingdom, where Mordu's waiting for him. So 2 times already this has turned into a problem, and why are we following these? So the 4th time, when she's just riding through the forest trying to find her mom, we see him again. She's like, ooh, that worked out twice. Let's follow them again. Fanfic time! This movie is actually about the Wisps and how they change humans into bears so they can eventually get them into bear-on-bear cage fights. And by doing so, they also increase their numbers. So they got a deal going on with the witch. The Wisps are giving her magic in exchange for whoever they send to her, she turns into a bear. So Mordu is pretty easy because, you know, he's got the greedy warlord thing going, but Eleanor, she was gonna be a bit trickier. So when the opportunity arose when Miranda Cosgrove came crying through the forest, they took it. They lead her to the witch, she makes a bear cake, her mom turns into a bear. Great, now all we have to do is get her and Mordu together for cage fight? Attempt number 1 was when we lead them to the Forbidden Kingdom where Mordu is waiting, but they narrowly escaped. Timmy Blueshine had high money on Mordu for that one. But not all is lost. In the final scene, they know Mordu is in the forest, so they lead Marco Polo right past him to lead him where Eleanor is. And she does. Second sunrise, second sunrise, second sunrise. Bear on bear cage fight at the clock. Be there, be there, be there. Well, we got a great fight today, folks.
Oh, we got Eleanor the Kid versus Mordu the Champ. It's gonna be a doozy of a fight. Let's get right into it.
Oh, starts with a bear roll.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, look at that. Oh, smack to the face.
Looking fierce out here tonight, folks. This is what you came here for. Oh, looks like Mordu's gonna target the little one, but oh, look at that cover.
Oh, into the neck. She looks like she's down.
Boy, that slow lumbering sure did not pay out well for him, folks. Mordu seems like he's gonna take this defeat pretty well.
The end.
I'd watch that movie.
So yeah, the Wisps. Easy plot progression, comes off simple, and a wee bit lazy.
Antagonism exists to push our characters to do great things. Without trials, what is there to overcome? Brave calls for Mariachi and Eleanor to overcome misunderstanding and hopefully come to a mutual understanding with one another. So aside from the fact that our previous video explains how the movie fails to do that convincingly, even after the resolution, you know, is displayed, the movie keeps going. Why? Is it because Eleanor's still a bear? What is actually happening in this last part of the film? It's what we like to call getting trapped. It's where the movie ungracefully gets itself stuck, trying to resolve every plot hole and mechanic that it's set up. But it's all happening outside of the actual story it's set out to tell. So how else do you finish a movie that's overstayed its welcome? With a boss battle, of course! What changes throughout this scene? This is a boss battle for the sake of a boss battle. Let's look at Aladdin. When Aladdin's fighting Jafar, that's an actual story beat. Aladdin is learning that he can survive without the genie, that he can take care of himself. So the point is not the boss battle, it's about Aladdin and what's happening to him. In Brave, it's the exact opposite. Nothing is happening to our characters, it's all about the battle that's going on. So in Brave, the only thing that is changing is that Mor'du dies. More specifically, Mor'du's spirit is put to rest, signified by him giving us the absolute broest of nods. We've already seen Marmalade and Eleanor change their values to respect one another. So what is happening in this scene that changes? The short answer is nothing. This whole scene is just building tension through contrived conflict. The only thing that Mor'du's actually done to anyone throughout the story is managed to make Fergus a king, which doesn't sound too bad to me. A story needs a source of great antagonism, something that'll challenge your character's values. That's the problem with Mor'du. He doesn't cause Merida or Eleanor to think about the decisions they've made prior to this. He just dies. So then we move on. Great.
This might be a personal point, but the scene at the Fallen Kingdom, I either missed crucial elements or felt that Macklemore was just pulling things out of thin air. So I wasn't really with her trying to figure out this puzzle. So, the pieces being that the oldest brother in the legend is the prince who bought the spell from the witch, subsequently turning him into a bear and destroying his whole kingdom. The film does actually set up a seemingly logical sequence of events to put all that together. So first, the prince's ring. The witch tells us that the prince bought this ring to change his fate. And then we see the same emblem on the ring on a post as she enters. And then they cut to her face internalizing, okay, this is the kingdom that the prince the witch sold the fate cake to came from. Firstly, this scene, too dark. How can anybody see what's on that ring? Small point. Next, this scene I missed entirely. We watched this movie 3 times in a week, the last of which focusing on every scene, pausing and talking about things that interested us, and I still missed it. It wasn't until later on, after I spent 2 hours going down a point on how this scene was missing, that Austin pointed it out to me, and I was like, oh, it was there the whole time. So after I thanked him for that, I wondered why I missed it every time. Did anybody else miss that? Just me? Oh. But I think there's an underlying thing here that's worth mentioning. The subtext of the scene doesn't lend itself to the audience to recognize that Mordor's putting that together. It's getting a little deep here, but I think it was an interesting point that was kind of fun to bring up. So here we go. So I compared the scene to Wreck-It Ralph earlier because I was raving in that video how cool it was that as the audience we're thinking the same thing as the character. And here in this spot, I think they're trying to do that again. But I personally missed it. In Wreck-It Ralph, the subtext of the arcade is that we've seen this again over and over for 30 years. So we know every part of it. So when something catches Ralph's interest, we know it's going to be different because he's seen this arcade over and over again. So we know it's going to be very specific and we want to know what that is. On the other hand though, here in this Forbidden Kingdom, this is mystical and new to everybody. So the subtext is that everything's mystical and new. We've not seen it before. The characters haven't seen it before. So therefore, I can so easily misread this reaction on Merida's face as, oh wow, look at that, or whoa, this is a crazy mystical place, instead of putting together the whole Fate Prince ring thing. But the fact of the matter is that every time I saw this scene, I missed it. I took it more as scenery than actually putting together the ring thing. And that's just on me. Like, I could go on a whole tangent about how the movie could have better subconsciously set up these whole like symbols and emblems of the kingdom, and to me as the audience know that they're important. So then when I see that up there, rather than thinking it's scenery, I would be like, oh yeah, these symbols are important, and then I would have been able to connect it to the ring. But again, that's getting really, really deep and really small point. The fact is I missed it, and I apologize, movie, for missing that. Secondly, I think there was a really big missed opportunity here just in the order that she discovers that this is the Lost Kingdom. She makes the assumption first that, hey, do you think this is that story you were telling me about, Mom? And then she sees that tablet. Always keep your audience just 1 step ahead of your character. Not 2, but definitely not behind. If they would have just flipped that, it would have been great. If I would have seen that tablet first, I would be like, hey, you think this is that kingdom in the story? And before I finished that thought, Merida would be like, hey, Mom, you think this is that kingdom in that story you were telling me about? And I would be like, and we would have been on the same level. Again, just figuring stuff out at the same time rather than her just telling us. It would have lended itself to a much more solid moment, creating more audience participation and investment, and therefore more engagement. And lastly, this shot. Just take it in. Yeah. This shot is not only confusing, but pointless. Why is it here? I can't figure out why they put it there. Who is seeing this? Markowski physically reacts to this. Does she see it too? When did she magically gain powers to see memories that weren't hers? This seems like the catalyst that causes her to put everything together. We don't need that. It should all be there if you caught it and aren't put off by her random conclusions. So it doesn't take the risk Wreck-It Ralph does, that it doesn't ask for me to invest as much and try to put the pieces together along with her. It just does it for me, which is a lot less fun. Ladies, we need your help with this one. This scene right here. What's going on? Is this like one of those girl things? What is the context of what they're saying? Eleanor's face just becomes really vulnerable, and it looks like she's about to say something. And then M. Night Shyamalan's looks really open and like she's about to receive what she's about to say. And then Eleanor just kind of backs down and says, "Remember to smile." I don't know what's going on here. What are we trying to establish? What is she saying? She already told her that she looks beautiful, so it wasn't anything of that nature. Is she about to bring up her whole point of view thing that she was talking to Fergus about in the last scene? If so, why is Mozzarella so immediately receptive? Or did she just bail and like, "and I love you"? I could see that. It's just, I didn't feel like the movie previously set up anything saying that they struggled telling each other that. And me and my mom, when we have a discussion, it usually involves audible sound. This whole scene is a fine piece of facial acting. I just don't know what's going on here. Is this a girl thing? Ladies, do you know what's going on here? If so, I'm hurt. Just telling the ladies in the audience something crucial to the film? It's cool. I didn't even want to know.
Our first point about the tapestry is Merida's conclusion of it being what's going to turn her mom back into a human. We hardly ever see this thing in the movie. Like, yeah, her mom's sewing with it once, and then Merida slices it in half. But at no point am I like, oh yeah, that tapestry, that magical cloth, that significant thing in the story, that of course that's gonna fix her mom. So when Merida comes to that conclusion, I don't believe her. I think that's random, and I'm like, why? No, that's not what it actually is. But then the biggest problem that comes from that is the fact that it winds up actually being the tapestry. Buckle up, here we go, son. We had assumed that the tapestry was supposed to be a misdirection, that the actual way to break the spell was to repair their mother and daughter relationship by giving up their pride. Which happens! Macho Man Randy Savage admits in front of everyone that she's been selfish. But her mom is still a bear. And she says it again at the end of the movie to her mom when she's still a bear. She admits that it's all her fault and that she's sorry for what she did. But we get a clear shot of her mom after that still being a bear. And there's no mystical wind, no sparkles happening around her to indicate that change is happening. No, it's after that when we get the slow pan back to the tapestry still sitting on her. It's after that scene. That's when we actually see her mom turned back into a human. Guys, it's the tapestry. I've been fooled. Mother-daughter relationship to repair? No, not even important. Giving up your values to understand conflicting ideals? No, don't. Rudimentary sewing skills? That is what this movie is trying to convey to us as being important. That's what matters in life, folks.
So, that was it. That was all of the extra feelings we had about Brave. We don't feel like any one of these things would initially fix the film, but there were problems we saw with it that just added to the overall kind of like, what is going on in this movie feel when we finished it.
What did you guys think? You already been leaving a bunch of good comments, and we're probably gonna do a talk back later. Jazabu messaged us on Tumblr with a great idea, talking about how we should let everybody know what movies we're gonna be watching so that you guys can watch them too, so you're ready to, you know, talk to us about it. Which is a great idea.
Great idea.
That's why we're gonna take it, and we're gonna call it our own. So, thanks, Jazabu.
So yes, our next movie is Rise of the Guardians. Watch out.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe.
See you next time.
See you next time. We're trying our hardest on social media.